Hi, and welcome to Portsmouth This Week. I'm your host, Conley Zani. This show is under the auspices of Rich Rayner, our Portsmouth Town Administrator. Together, Rich, myself, and the entire Portsmouth This Week team are on a mission to build community. We do that by bringing you accurate and timely information about the issues and projects that impact you. We introduce you to the faces, the personalities, the leaders in our community that make up the fabric of this very magical place to live. Our topic this week is ag innovation. And if you're sitting out there going, what's ag innovation? I was too. And now that I know just a very little, I am so excited to introduce you to my guests. I have today Sara Churgin and Margie Brennan. Thank you both for being here. You guys are the forces behind ag innovation. So let me start. Sara, tell us a little bit about who you are and where you work, and then we'll ask Margie to do the same, and then we'll get into what ag innovation is, because it is very exciting.
First of all, thank you very much for having us. I'm Sara Churgin. I am the district manager for the Eastern Rhode Island Conservation District. Yeah. We encompass Newport and Bristol counties, and we help pretty much anybody who needs it with natural resource concerns. So if they have issues with water quality, soil health, with air. We work a lot with the school community, which is how I became introduced to Margie.
Yeah, and you do stormwater management too.
Yes, so that's one of my big. That's one of my big things.
Yeah,
is I love working
with.
That's
how we met long ago.
Exactly.
You helped the Common Fence Point Community Center do a giant rain garden to manage our stormwater.
Yes, that was a pretty amazing project. You have an awesome community out in Common Fence Point.
That was really fun, but thank you. And I mean, this is what you do. So you met Margie through this. So Margie, tell us a little bit about the role that you play.
I'm the science instructional coach for grades K through 8, so I oversee both elementary schools and the middle school in science instruction, STEM, engineering design, any type of innovative type thing. Yeah. I have my hands on it.
Oh, awesome. And you know, we are just getting to know each other as friends, but I've known about you for a while. I mean, the last big project that you did, you renovated the Kate Grana Auditorium at the high school, the Portsmouth High School.
Absolutely.
You were the driving force behind that. So
there was a
team. There was a team, but clearly I got a couple movers and shakers here. And it's exciting. Ag innovation. Tell us, what is that and how did it get started?
So I had just come off of doing a stormwater mitigation project at the Melville Elementary School. Yep. We were able to put in a stormwater mitigation project. There was a huge amount of flooding that was in the backyard so that the field wasn't usable. Half of the field wasn't usable. So we were able to raise enough funds to put in stormwater mitigation and outdoor learning activity zone there. And when that completed, very successful, by the way, a really great place. It was just before COVID, so perfect timing for the teachers to be able to use the space in these past 2 years.
Some outdoor classroom
yes,
kind of
exactly.
things happening there.
Exactly what it is. Mm-hmm. I had heard that the middle school had some stormwater issues, so I set up a meeting with the principal and Margie and the vice principal.
And the principal and vice principal are
So Mr. Aruda is the amazing principal there, and Lisa Goodwin is the vice principal there. And I couldn't have walked into a more welcoming atmosphere, explaining what it was that I do, and that if they had issues, that I would love to be able to help them try to find funding to solve them. At the time, they did not have the ability to do anything on the property because there was going to be renovations. Again, this was just pre-COVID. But I had just gotten a tap on 5 acres of farmland that's up the street from the middle school. So I said, well, we can't do anything on your property, but I have 5 acres of land that I have nothing on at the moment. And Margie got really excited, Mr. Aruda got really excited, and we started from there. That was in December of 2019.
So we actually met Martin Beck, who is the farmer who rents the land. He was the one who gifted us originally the space, and he's very passionate about education, himself included. He wants to be a part of what we're doing. So
generous.
Yes.
He's very, very. He runs New England grass-fed beef, so his property is further down past Sisson Pond. So the only thing up in the area that we're dealing with is his farm stand, and it's perfect. So when we first thought about it, I started pitching it as an after-school program, and I had gone to each of the classrooms and just showed a picture of this space and talked about, we're going to start an after-school program and make a vision. Then COVID hit. And we were just devastated. And then I said, can we run a virtual after-school program? So during April, May of 2020, during COVID, I met with 25 kids.
Who voluntarily signed up for this. Like, their parents didn't make them.
Nope.
They voluntarily
Right, so
signed
they're
up.
kind of at home. It's COVID, they're at home.
They're at home.
And you said, we got this opportunity.
I don't know them
Yeah.
because they were middle school kids, and I was really working with the elementary kids at the time. And so twice a week for 8 weeks we met. We opened it up as a project-based learning. This is the land. What would you like to do? And the kids came out with, starting gardening, irrigation. They talked about the difference between high tunnels and greenhouses. They really want chickens and livestock. So they broke into little groups.
Oh my goodness.
They broke into little groups.
Zoom?
On Zoom. So I had
Oh my
breakout
gosh.
rooms going, and I would meet with each of them and just facilitate, and they would guide my instruction, and then they would research. We'd come back, we'd talk about the reality of it, and then at the end we created this vision that we wanted, which is
Well, let's we've got a little graphic here,
Yes.
right? So let me pull this up. First, before we show the vision, let's tell people where it is, because again, I didn't even know this was going on. So let's orient everybody. This is our map here, all right? And
let's go with the first, oh, you want to go with that. So middle school, if you're at Jepson, on Jepson Road, and you're passing the middle school on the right-hand side, you travel 0.5 miles down on the left-hand side, and that's where the farm is.
right, so you pass the middle school, and it's right before you get to Oliphant, on the opposite side of the street. So this is Jepson that we're seeing right
Yep.
here. Okay, all right. So yeah, that's amazing. And then since it's student run and student led, we have a drawing from one of the students.
Which was actually Margie's daughter.
Oh, this is your daughter did this. Okay, this is the vision for plantings and everything,
So
right?
we're heavily into STEAM education, not just STEM education. So we actually do have several students involved in our program that are art-minded. So it's
That's
just
the A. The A
that's
is
the
arts.
A, absolutely.
What does the rest of it stand for, just to educate us?
Science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics.
Okay.
So this is a full STEAM program, and at the end of our 8 weeks, where the kids really came up with an idea, we were actually able to create that vision.
Wow.
Yes.
So what are the big elements here that you're excited about, or that I should say that they're excited about, right? Because
And
it's their baby.
Absolutely. So if you notice, there's 4 quadrants. We're focusing on phase 1 of the farm, and there's 4 quadrants, and each quadrant was going to be something different. So fast forward ahead, right now we have 1 quadrant was actually for produce that we harvested for the food banks this past summer. The other one was a community farm plot area, so we offered community plots for the anybody on the island. And then the other 2, we were talking about cover crop, talking about soil rejuvenation, soil health. So we hadn't quite gotten to those because each plot is about 80 feet by 70, so it's a big farming area.
Substantial, right?
Yeah. Well, we also talked about, I think on there is the high tunnel. We're looking for a classroom shed. I say shed, but a classroom on property where the kids can actually go and plan and research.
Is that what a
and
high tunnel is? Tell me what that is.
No.
What's a high tunnel? Or is
the high tunnel is, go ahead, you want to
So
say
the
it?
yeah,
seasonal
you're like, I got this one.
The seasonal high tunnel extends the growing season so that it's wrapped in plastic. Well,
So it's not a greenhouse.
polypropylene. It is similar to a greenhouse, but greenhouse generally has more structured hard walls. This is like the hoop house that you see a lot of places, and it has
the
plastic
nurseries.
over it. And then, so it gets very hot inside, so you can extend the growing season beyond the fall, and you can start earlier. Our eventual ideas, we want to be able to do 24/7 in there, depending upon the crops that we decide
No
we're
matter
going to
what's
grow
going
in
on,
there.
blizzards,
Right.
whatever.
Yes,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that was one of the visions that the kids had come up with. The Father's Day of 2020, I believe, we tilled a 25 by 75 patch just to see if it was even doable. And we had about 10 to 15 families that were very excited to get out during COVID. So our attendance was amazing. They came out every week, they helped. And then unfortunately, when school started back up, we were told no after-school programming, so we had to go on a pause for 2021. So that was
right.
that was devastating to us. However, it gave us a little bit of a pause. Sarah writes a ton of grants, and I try my best to write some grants as well. So we kind of just continued the backs of trying to figure out how we were going to provide the funding for this. So in this past spring of 2021, I offered it again as an after-school program. We had met in the winter for a couple weeks so that they could see what they were getting into, because now we had to build our vision. So we created our vision, and then this spring, it was all about building. So we ended up with 65 kids from the middle school.
Again, voluntarily.
After-school program. Lisa Brew is a long-term sub, building substitute, and wonderful person who also works at the middle school, and she offered to come out and help me free of charge, voluntary. So she came out with me, and the two of us ran 2 groups because 65 kids was a lot, so we split them in half, and twice a week we were out there shoveling, weeding, everything.
Manual labor.
Manual
Good manual
labor.
labor.
And it was good because a lot of the kids we found, you know, what grows, what doesn't grow. During the summer, we continued to run a morning program. I think we were twice a week for about 5 weeks. Had a smaller group because now 2021, everybody was let up with COVID, so we had a lot of family members actually taking vacations and trying to get out. But we did have a steady force of kids coming twice a week, and we dealt with the rain, so we had lots of weeds, and we had to focus on the gardening, which was not our intention. Our intention was to continue to move outward and continue our vision, but with the rain, we kind of had to stop and weed because we needed to harvest the food, and we ended up harvesting quite a bit. We gave to St. John's and
That's
St.
a food
Lucy's.
pantry?
Yep, the food pantry.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And how good for these kids to make that connection and
Yes.
participate in that.
Absolutely. I have to say the best part was, I think it was right after the 4th of July, we had taken the week off, so we came back the next week, and we showed up, and here's a 75 by 80 stretch of what we thought was going to be harvest, and it was all weeds, probably about 3 feet tall. You couldn't see a single thing, and we started just weeding, and all of a sudden we started to find the squash, the beans, the kale.
So it was under there.
And
Yes.
the kids were so ecstatic. They were, Mrs. Brennan, come here. Like, it became more of a, let's pull this out so we can find all this glorious food that we had worked so hard to plant. So it was very gratifying.
Finding a treasure.
It was,
right?
it was. They were very excited about it. So that was our summer. We just, this Monday, we're actually ending our last fall program, which was 25 kids coming out, and we were closing up the farm. So we were putting tarp on the garden to kind of reduce the amount of weeds that are going to come up, and as well as talk about what we want to do in the spring. So in between all that, Sara wrote some wonderful grants
that we are waiting to, some of them we have gotten, so it's
What are you
just to
looking
be able,
for?
so, well, obviously we need a lot of help with the weeds. No, we need someone who is actually there more than Margie and I can be there.
Farm
So,
manager.
yeah, so
Okay.
at the moment we have somebody, his name is Horace, he's just amazing. He has his own CSA, which is his own, what does CSA stand for again? It's an agricultural business.
community-
Community, anyhow.
Something awesome.
His business is to supply his produce that he and his partners grow to local restaurants on the island.
And their farm is called Hawk and Handsaw. It's off Green End. And over the summer, I took about 15 kids to his farm, which is with Aquidneck Community Tableland on the land trust. And he gave us, he's an amazing storyteller, and he does a lot of medicinal herbs. He had a lot of neat ways of being able to get tomatoes to grow, cucumbers, anything that it was viney. He just showed us different ways. He talked to us about composting, which is the zero waste initiative that we also did within the school with Clean Ocean Access, but they saw what they did with the compost and how he used the compost on his farm. So Horace was just a true delight
He's a
to
gem.
find.
Yes, he is.
And he's
So
volunteering right now, but
No,
he's just
no,
helping out.
No, we're paying. So some of the
okay.
money that I've been able to get, I'm able to pay somebody so that they can, and he's so knowledgeable. I mean,
All right,
so knowledgeable.
we're hoping that
So
Horace can keep helping.
yes, exactly.
All right.
And we also are waiting to hear on a Champlain grant because we need a tractor. We desperately need a tractor. Right now we're at the mercy of asking people, and it's very difficult when you don't have a tractor and you have a farm. We want to be no-till eventually, but you have to start by plowing. You definitely need to plow.
Right.
So as of right now, we have the beginnings of a shade pavilion that Sara was able to get from National Grid, an area, the materials for.
What's a shade pavilion?
It's literally a pavilion area where their sails are connected to the posts so that there's some shade that we can...
Shade.
Shade,
Oh,
yes.
okay, sorry.
So we can stay under it during the hot summer.
Gotcha,
and-
that is key.
Yep, that is key. Sara was also able to get us the high tunnel, and that is absolutely amazing. So our hope on Monday to finish up is to lay the cardboard down on the ground so we can also kill the weeds. So in the spring we can plant in the ground rather than on tabletops. But we have, and I'm jumping, we actually just met with Tyler Angers, who is the engineering teacher up at the high school, and offered his students the problem of creating a solar power rain catchment system to run irrigation inside the high tunnel, because the high tunnel is probably about 1,000 feet from the water source that we have currently.
So I bet Tyler jumped at this. This is a cool project.
He
I guess,
did, and he
right?
just emailed me yesterday to say that 6 kids, they usually do 3 groups of 3 and they pick a project, but 6 kids are coming to the farm on Monday to look at the high tunnel, measure it out. I mean, he is like-minded with project-based learning. You give the problem,
Real
they
world
solve.
problems.
So they're coming down, they're going to ask questions. Hopefully they'll bring a measuring tape and measure and see how much, because they have to create the plan for engineering. They have to create what it is and the parts needed for it. So, we're bringing it up to the high school now.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
just love how the students are the ones that are doing this.
Yes,
Exactly.
it's student-driven. It's a
It's
student-driven
completely
program.
student-driven from the vision, like they laid out the goals. And tell me some of their goals. Like clearly we've got some different kinds of things we're planting, but what are those bigger picture goals? Like participating in farmers markets?
Yes.
What else
Yes.
comes
So
to mind?
one of the students actually has been hounding me about sustainable finance for a farm. What does it take to run a farm? Like, how in the world can anybody live knowing what they're doing right now? Because some of the kids who love being there just said, you know what, Mrs. Brennan, I always thought I wanted to be a farmer. This is hard work. So we've been in talks with Bank Newport about having one of their members come down and teach us, you know, the ins and outs of the finance of a land. How much does it cost for the water? How much money do we need? How do you raise that money? And then what do you do with the money once you get it? Yeah. So that was one of the big takeaways that I got from our brainstorming. We also were talking about soil growth, soil health, and learning what does it take to keep this soil healthy, because anywhere you read when you talk about soil, our soil is losing all the nutrients, and we are going to have problems if we don't teach our students how to farm properly.
Right.
And so the other thing we were talking about was water quality. We're near Sisson Pond, and even though that's the drinking water for Newport, it is has toxic labels on it everywhere. So the kids want to understand, why is that green right now, but yet it's supposed to be our drinking water. So they're interested to see the process of how water is cleaned and how we can help in the environmental efforts. The kids also want to talk about the biodiversity, what kind of native plants and trees should be on the farm and what ones are invasive and how they're hurting the native plants. So they have a lot of good ideas, and we'll go in whatever direction they want. They're very excited to get out there. They love doing the hands-on. They love talking as we're doing things. They love, Mrs. Brennan, have we thought about this? Have we thought about this? So I say, in the winter, before we start planting in our greenhouses, we'll start talking about plants. But I tell the kids, you know, you come up with an idea, it's great, but you have to do a little research, provide me some evidence to understand what it takes to make it happen. Because sometimes it just can't happen. So we're still working on the chickens. They want chickens, and we don't have a person there to check on them every day. So, you know, we can only take it so far until we can start really turning it into a community ag innovation, which is our big picture. We really want to introduce this farm to the middle school and the Newport community as well.
Yeah, so that was my understanding, that this is much bigger than a Portsmouth Middle School project. You're already making inroads with the high school, but there is a vision to serve
The island.
the whole island, right?
Well, first of all, we have such tremendous support, I mean, from the start, from Mr. Arruda, the principal. I mean, he's just been on board right from the get-go, and he was out there at 5 a.m. one Saturday morning. I was out there helping him putting up a sign that he purchased for the farm. And then the administration itself, from the superintendent to the assistant superintendent, everybody has been extremely supportive of this. And it's always been our vision. We knew we had to start, you know, we were starting with the middle school because that's where we were. But we want to encompass the elementary schools. Margie had wrote a Van Buren grant, which has asked for funding so that we could start 4-H programs, so that could then become at the elementary level, so that those kids, it would be like a feeder into the middle school, and they'll know what the program is about. And then having the high school involved to be able to come and work on the farm, as she just explained. And we really do want the other school districts on the island in Middletown and Newport to become involved in this too. But obviously we realize one step at a time, but that is, as she keeps saying to me, as she reins me in.
Baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps.
Gotta do it right.
Yeah.
Slow and steady always wins. So,
Do it right.
yeah.
But I love the vision of just the inclusion and the equity that happens
Yes,
around.
exactly. We definitely want it to be an equitable program to everybody that's on the island.
And we're hoping soon to work with the Quincy Community Table, because one of the other problems the kids have been saying is, oh, this is neat to grow kale, but what do you do with it?
Well, tell me,
So-
what is the Quinnick Community Table?
Sarah?
So,
Is that a Sarah question? Okay, sorry.
Quincy Community Table is, their executive director is Bevan Lindsay, and they are a sustainable farm-to-table type of organization. They're a nonprofit that's on the island. They help to run the farmers markets that are on the island. I know they're going into a new spot, and I can't remember where it is on the island for the winter, but they do the one that's on Memorial in the summertime in Newport. And they're an amazing organization, and we have asked for funding for them because they do after-school programs as well. So it would be really helpful, because we envision having camps at the farm, and we would love to include a Quincy Community Table in that with us.
That's exciting.
And just that one little piece of, you know, farm to table is a component that a lot of people, you know, you give all this food, you give even different colored apples or whatever to the food bank, and they say this is great, but how do I prepare this? What do I do with this? So by educating the kids, our hope is that they will go home and be able to educate their parents as well of how to use different types of vegetables.
Yeah. I tell you, I am always struck by how many different organizations come together to make something magic like this happen.
Yeah.
It takes a village,
It
as you
does.
know.
Yeah, it really does. And it's just striking, like how many people care.
Yeah.
Right?
And we're very open to community collaboration, so anybody that would like to come and work with us or create a program for the students, we're very much open to talking to them and providing more things for our students.
Well, speaking of community collaborations, let's talk about the Navy Choristers, because they are throwing a fundraiser for your project, for AgInnovation. Is that correct?
That is, yes.
Tell me about this.
So the Navy Choristers, actually, I connected with them when we did the Kate Grana Auditorium. They raised $16,000. Their event raised $16,000 for the auditorium. They were instrumental in their doing.
Wow.
So they have chosen us to be the beneficiaries of this year's Newport Navy Choristers Holiday Concert, which is December 10th.
Where
at
is it?
St. Barnabas. So,
Okay.
which is exactly where we had it when we did it with Kate Grana.
Yeah, so we would love everyone watching this show.
Yes,
come.
absolutely. Everybody to come and
Right?
come and support our program. It would be
Absolutely.
wonderful. It'll be a lovely evening. Doors open at 6. Do they open at 6? Or maybe they open at 7. I'm not sure.
Flyers to be continued.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Wow. Well, that is just so exciting. So we just have a couple minutes left. Let's just sort of end with, like, what are you guys most proud of? It sounds like it's been a wild, exciting journey with COVID and everything. What are your thoughts to leave us with? It's so inspired. I'm so inspired.
I always, every time I start a new project for Eastern District, I'm like, this is my favorite project. But this really is my favorite project. Well, first of all, because our vision, again, is that it's going to be here for a very long time. It's not going anywhere. Just to see the kids and the expressions on their faces for those who, when they planted a little itty bitty seed and then they come back out and they see what it's grown into. And I mean, I kid when I say, this is about teaching our kids that food is not grown in the grocery store. It's not grown in the refrigerator, but that it really is getting to basics, and for them to know what it takes to get the food on the table, and a real appreciation for our agriculture, which we can't do without it. I mean, we just can't do without it. And these kids are our future, and about teaching them the importance of the earth and what the earth has to give. And I feel really inspired whenever I see them, and I see her, which, I mean, she's just amazing with them. Just amazing.
You guys are both very inspiring. I am so thankful that you came on this show to share this. So,
Well,
with
thank
that,
you for having us.
yeah, of course. With that, I'll leave our viewers. Please come support this amazing Ag Innovation project at the upcoming fundraiser on December 10th at St. Barnabas Church. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Portsmouth This Week.